this is massive, massive news. It starts, I think, December 1st or January 1st or something like that. I mean, the kids are like up in arms. There's like a group of kids that are like trying to sue the Australian government. It's like crazy. And like Snapchat's like behind them and Instagram's behind. It's like a whole thing. It's so big. But
they're gonna need rehab.
yeah. If this,
they're gonna need like a detox facility.
Yeah. If this goes through, I want to see what else happens in different countries.
Social platforms are going to be the new OTAs.
Whoever owns the moment of intent controls the bookings.
Are we going to get a bubble? There are thousands of hotels with hundreds of rooms that still need to be filled.
We're going to be focused on this independent, cool lifestyle and luxury, but I have to market like a bank.
I think that we can give our 2 cents into the stories that are going on.
Will be in your ears and on your screens every Friday morning.
Let's do it.
Let's roll.
This is the gold, bro. This is the gold.
Welcome to This Week in Hospitality, a weekly analysis designed for the people building the next generation of great hospitality brands. Each Friday, we take you beyond the headlines to examine the ideas, the market forces, and the cultural shifts reshaping travel and lodging. This show exists for independent owners, operators, and entrepreneurs who don't have time to sift through noise, but who want to understand what actually matters and how the week's developments will impact the work they're doing on the ground. Our conversations are guided by a team whose experiences span every corner of the industry. We've got Ben Wolf, the visionary behind Onera, one of the most distinctive landscape hotel concepts in the Texas Hill Country, and Awasi, a hotel marketing and growth firm elevating experiential hotels across the states. We've also got Scott Eddy, one of the most respected voices in global hospitality storytelling, trusted by luxury hotel brands and tourism boards around the world to shape how they connect with today's traveler. And we've also got Edwin Kramer, a leader who has run some of the world's most admired luxury hotels as general manager at brands like Four Seasons, Edition, and Nobu Hotels. Edwin brings an operator's precision and a global lens to every conversation. And I'm Zach Boozy-Cruz, head of growth at Journey, a loyalty platform for the world's top independently owned and operated hospitality brands, and host of Behind the Stays, where I've spent years interviewing the founders and creators building remarkable hospitality brands. Together, we break down the news, identify the real opportunities, and help you think more clearly about the future you're building towards. All right, friends, without further ado, get ready to dive into This Week in Hospitality. Let's get started. We have a ton to talk about this week, gentlemen, but I thought it'd be fun, as we're a few episodes in now, to do a just little update. How's everyone doing? What projects are you working on? What's a life event that is occurring that might be interesting to our listeners, or at least interesting to us? Just an attempt to help our audience get to know us a little bit, understand what we do besides this podcast every week. Scott, let's start with you, man. Like, where in the world are you? What are you working on? What have you been thinking about lately?
So I've been in Thailand for the past month, and being here this long, it rewires the way I see hospitality, because Thailand doesn't perform hospitality, they breathe it. You feel it in every interaction. You feel it in the pace, the eye contact, the warmth, I just came back from Phuket. I was down there for 4 or 5 days, and now I'm in Bangkok. So I just came back from the airport about 3 hours ago. And this is funny because I'm at baggage claim getting my bags, and I'm watching, how when the bags come out and they just bang against that silver thing, and you're just like, oh my God, how did every suitcase not explode because it's going like 100 miles an hour? And, it's the ultimate luggage test. There is a girl there, and I'm going to post this video on LinkedIn sometime over the next few days. There was a girl there with sort of like a cushion, and every time a piece of luggage came out, she stuck it down so it landed soft.
Oh,
so like,
amazing.
Every time I talk about Thai hospitality, these are the type of things that come to my mind, and it's just, when you watch that every day for a month, you start realizing how far the rest of the world is and has drifted from the heart of this business. I spoke at a huge hotel conference here the other week, no vacancy hotel conference. I met a lot of potential clients, had conversations that made me think, all right, it's time to maybe anchor myself here more often. It looks like I'll be spending a month or two here every year from now on. I'm most likely coming back in January because I think I have a new client in Bali. And tomorrow I fly back to Miami. I'm only there for 2 days, and then I'm off to Mexico for a new resort opening in Nuevo Vallarta. And, you know, that's the rhythm of my life. You go from Bangkok to Miami to Mexico in 1 week. And there you have it.
Dude, that's amazing. Your hustle is just remarkable. I like following you on Instagram, man. It's exhausting, right? Like I'm exhausted watching your stories because I'm like, geez, man, he was just over there, he's over here. You're like, when does this guy sleep?
Best.
And you're so freaking like good at engaging with like every comment and replying and liking. I mean, it's a full-time job just to manage Mr. Scott Eddie's Instagram. So I'm impressed, man. I'm impressed.
And no matter what amount of money, I would never hand that off to anybody. Not one.
I believe you. I believe you.
No way.
Edwin, what about you, man? What's new in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, well, you know, December, everybody says it is the season of, but as a hotel operator and owner, you know that November, sort of, you know, the 3 last weeks of November, it is the season of budgets. The unsexy time of the year. So I've been spending time in Amsterdam. We've got, I'm working on a project there with 2 hotels. We recently purchased with an investor and a further 3rd hotel. And they need to present budgets for 2026. You know, so it's that time we all love and hate when, you know, directors of marketing and finance directors and GMs all get bogged down in offices and make promises they can't keep, and owners wanting more and going through the 5th and 6th version and then ending up with really what the version what the first version was, because that was much more of a reality. So unsexy times in November. So I flew back to Barcelona on Saturday and then said I need to get out for a little bit for 2 reasons. I'm in Ibiza right now. I used to live here. Great island.
Great island.
But, you know, wintertime is dead, right? So very few things are open. The weather's not great. So this is perfect time to be here. Great for hiking and, you know, getting out in nature, which I missed having been in cities for the last months. So that's great, seeing some friends. And there was a project, a little hotel I can't get out of my head. It's really not massively on the market for sale, but we looked at that with an investor a couple of months ago. It didn't really go anywhere. So I'm now rethinking what we could do with it. Tiny little, you know, 70 room, maybe you can, after renovation, make it a 50, 60 room, little wellness hotel, just a fun little place. So rethinking what we can do with that. That's why I'm here. A couple of more days and then I'm heading back to Barcelona.
Sounds amazing, man. Do you have like a favorite city you've been to in the last few months? Like not just a city to visit, but like what's your favorite city to live in? Because you're like living for extended periods of time in every place.
Yeah, I mean that's hard. No, I mean I've loved places to live in that have a lot of nature. So I love the Caribbean. I live in the Caribbean twice on islands, but the Middle East brought me a lot too because I was right there when, you know, countries were changing and going through massive alterations in how governments dealt with tourism. So, you know, those things have been very interesting. Ibiza was great because it had that balance of, you know, powerhouse summer, madness, you know, high energy, and then, yeah, wintertime it drops dead, right? You still have a job, but your job is very different. It's getting ready for next season. But I have to say also, and I posted about this a while ago, I haven't lived in Amsterdam for 30 years. You know, I'm Dutch. I left in 94 for 1 year, and I kind of messed that up because I've been traveling since. But I was back this summer, and with great weather, Amsterdam's a great city. I mean, occupancies even right now from a hotel perspective, it's low season. They're in the 80s and 90s. I mean, it's incredible. It just has a great buzz. But I also know why I left, because the weather isn't good. So, you know, I prefer a bit more further south in Europe.
I love that you have like that choice in Europe. You can just hop, you know, take a couple hour flight and be in a totally different climate in a totally different country. Not as easy to do here in the States, but I love that, man. That's awesome. I'll go quickly, and then Ben, I want to wrap with you, and then we can get on to the stories for the week. But we're actually with Journey, we're doing an offsite next week, and we're actually going to a partner of ours
Holson Hospitality. They're an incredible vacation rental management company, kind of premier vacation rentals all throughout Nashville. But what is really interesting is they recently bought this like historic building in Nashville. It's like 2 blocks off Broadway. Wow. And they've turned this historic building into what they call the Star Piano Suites. So it's a hotel-ish sort of experience where I believe it's 16 suites. And there's basically like 4 suites on each level. So it's like a 4-level building. You get like when you book the property, whether you book it outright and or just book it individually, you have a full-on like concierge service. So they actually hired this GM who she had like a long career with Ritz-Carlton. She's kind of come in. So you do like if you want have the opportunity to like talk with someone at a front desk, and there's F&B and whatnot. That's all offsite, but it's it's in Nashville, so it's like right next door. But you get this like experience where you're checking in with a real human. If that's something that you want, you obviously can check in kind of like on your own via your phone if that's what you prefer as well. But I'm super excited to check it out because there are more and more of these concepts that have been popping up lately where it's flirting dramatically with like with what is it a hotel, is it a vacation rental? There's a project called Hotel Pearl that some of us know this guy Buck's been working on for a long time. So I'm interested to see how these projects wind up maturing, right? Especially when they do include very limited but like senior staff that comes kind of like with the experience. So I'll report back to you guys next week. Actually, when we're recording, I'll be there, so I can let you know how the experience actually was. But I'm really interested to see whether this trend continues, especially as regulations continue to change in certain markets. And I think what I love about the story is, here's a team of vacation rental management individuals who built an impressive portfolio who are now realizing like we want to get into the hotel space, and this is kind of like a nice in-between step, if you will. So excited about the offsite, excited to check out this concept. Ben, what's new in your world?
Yeah, so I'm back back in Austin, which is great. Got to spend Thanksgiving pretty low key with the family, which was really nice after traveling for like 2 weeks. I definitely don't travel as much as Scott and Edwin, but still feel like I travel probably more than I would like with my young kids. But yeah, what's going on? What's new in my world? One, I think, Bahia, our landscape hotel, 45 minutes from Miami, is really off and running, is cooking. We've gotten through initial permitting. Miami-Dade is very supportive of the project, which is phenomenal. I mean, just a great sign. And as they should be, right? We're promoting agritourism. That was kind of the point of an ordinance that was passed in this region that we're in, the Redlands Homestead area, that's super big on exotic fruit exports and tropical plants and a very big agricultural community. And they passed this agritourism ordinance to promote more of that activity, more economic activity in the region. And we're bringing that with our property. So, we got through initial permitting, and we have pretty much all of our equity sourced. I mean, we're closing in on 3 million, which is what we need to be fully subscribed. Just got a verbal commit that gets us to like 2.95. Right. So we're right there. And I think we have our debt partner lined up too. So super excited about that. I'm going to be in San Marcos today with our GC and construction partner, who Zach Banks, and Steve's flying in, and we're having like a full day alignment and working session. So stoked about that. On the Oasi side of things, we just brought on probably our most exciting client to date. Probably a client I've dreamed about working with for a while. Azulik in Tulum. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but feels more like art sculpture than hotel in some ways. It feels like it kind of grew up out of the earth in the Tulum jungle, right on the sort of edge of the beach there. And yeah, we're bringing them on for social media and pricing strategy, revenue management. So we're going to be doing all their video. And this is like classic story of they got on social early. They have over 2 million followers, like almost 2.5. So they're, I think, the biggest individual hotel on social, but their engagement isn't there today, right? It's most of their videos are getting sub 50,000 views, a lot of them sub 20,000 views. And with 2.4 million followers, like we got a lot of work to do. But there's massive potential. It's super programmable. It's like I said, a dream client. So our videographer was just there for 12 days, going back for another 4 in a couple weeks. So we just started posting our content, which I like to think is a little faster paced, a little more frenetic energy, more of a video storytelling that really pulls the viewer in, as opposed to your classic like TV commercial, cinematic style that so many of the hotels do on social. So yeah, that's what's new in my world.
I love that, dude. It's also so impressive when you can convince somebody who cares so much about their brand and has a massive following already to work with an outside partner on their content. Like that's a huge win, man. That's a very hard thing to do well, because it in some ways it requires you to admit that, like, hey, great, our follower count's amazing, but we're not seeing the engagement that we want, and we need help from somebody. Like 2.5 million followers is insanely impressive. So for them to be like willing and excited to kind of work with you guys is really a huge testament to your work, man. So that's awesome.
Yeah, appreciate that. And look, we're super excited to work with them. And at the end of the day, like, to bring on a group like Azulik, I mean, we're also betting on ourselves. We're like, hey, we'll do it sort of for the best price that we can. And we'll bet on ourselves with incentives, views, link taps, whatever, depending on the client. So, we fully believe that we're going to absolutely crush it for them. So it's like, why not bet on ourselves?
All right, guys. So let's get into our stories of the week. So starting January 1st, 2026, international visitors to some of the most popular U.S. national parks like Grand Canyon, Yellowstone, Yosemite, and more, will be hit with an extra $100 entry fee on top of the usual park fee if they don't buy an elevated annual pass. Annual passes for non-U.S. residents will also jump to $250. The logic from the U.S. government is that international tourists should contribute more to park maintenance while keeping access more affordable for U.S. taxpayers. This obviously has ripple effects for resorts, for local economies, for small hotels, tour operators, etc., especially in gateway towns near national parks. This could certainly change demand, travel patterns, bookings, etc. Edwin, as our resident international contributor to this conversation, I want to start with you here. From your perspective, what does this fee hike mean for U.S. travel demand from abroad? Have you heard any musings and or commentary from folks in the space about this change? And or is this really sort of an American problem? Americans think this is a big deal, but your average international traveler could care less. Where do you stand? What are your thoughts on this story?
Well, I haven't heard much yet. The story just broke. I first read it on the New York Times. But no, I think it will have an effect. I definitely don't think it's a U.S. problem, or as you put it. Look, there's a lot of countries who do something similar, so this is not new. But I think the argument to say that a country like Ecuador or Thailand charge less for their local residents or inhabitants is a bit of a counter argument, because in those countries, the average income may be a tenth or a 20th or even less of what visitors bring to the country. So I think that argument doesn't really fly. I also read, I think that was good that they immediately jumped on it, a bit of a calculation, because sometimes you need to take this apart and look at what does this really mean in terms of numbers. The U.S. parks have had a hit already by the government, and if the calculations are right, then the extra increases for foreign travelers will supersede the amount that is needed to repair roads and other infrastructure. It'll gain an extra 50 million, and the total bill for repair is 43 million. So that's a problem solved. Not bad. What it does to tourists and actual visitors to the parks, the decline, you never know, but the calculation said it's less than 2%, 1.3%, I think it was. So, that's not a big drama. I think the problem comes, as you said in the intro, in the entire surroundings. What's going to happen there, and our people are going to have to make choices of what they do with their spend. And if I think, the average European who wants to go to the United States, and if you come with a family of 4, you have to pay $250 instead of the $80 for a pass, and or have to pay $400 if you bring 2 kids. I mean, you may say, I'm still going to go, but I'm going to do one park instead of two parks, right? So there's a problem there. Or you may have to choose to not do other things, and I think there's the big danger. If you visit the towns and it's going to cost you $400 to enter a park, are you going to go for breakfast? Are you going to go for lunch? Are you going to have drinks? Are you going to bring your own lunch, a sandwich from 7-Eleven? Is your pattern of spending going to change? Because in the end, a vacation budget is a vacation budget for many people. Or are people going to travel less? If the United States is your favorite destination, you may do this only once every 5 years instead of once every 2 years now, because of price increases. And I think from a European perspective, you've got such a magical country. All three of you being from the US. I mean, I traveled cross country 3 times when I lived there, late 90s. I mean, there's so much to see, and the national parks have such great interest that I don't think people will stop going, right? We all know the U.S. from so many perspectives from growing up. It has a massive appeal, but the psychology may just change in the sense that knowing that the average salary there is double versus a lot of countries in Europe, everything already costs a lot more. This may not help in the frequency of travel. And we have a bit of a similar story here in Ibiza. Everything's quite expensive here. Prices have gone up in the last years. And Scott and I were earlier talking before we started recording, talking about the power of nightclubs, right? And so, in Ibiza here, our national parks are nightclubs. And it used to be a tenner to get in. And now they charge 100, 220 euros to get in. So we still see the same amount of tourists coming in, and I think there's some comparisons maybe with the US in this story. Still the same amount of people coming in, they just spend less time, right? Because their budget is their budget, and they're choosing. And for this price, including drinks at expenses, 25 euros for a drink in a nightclub is not unheard of. You're just going to have to make choices so people don't do and the breakfast and the lunch and the beach bed and the dinner and the expensive hotel, and people get in and out quicker, and this may have a ripple effect on this too. I think it's a story to look at. I hope this won't deter people from going, but if this is the marketing for the 250th birthday of the US in 2026, and a lot of stories are picking up, it's not a really great marketing plan, I would say.
Ben, I wanted to bring you into this conversation, especially we've got some friends, right? I think of Trailborn as a brand, right? Who they're betting on sort of building this 4-star product in and around great national parks. From a hotel developer's perspective, as people start assessing what impact this will have on international travel demand to these locations, do you think the development community? I mean, a lot of these, I don't know when the last time you guys were went to a national park, but you do when you go to national parks, right? There's a lot of really, let's just say, lackluster hotel accommodations around, right? Like you find mostly 2-3-star products. You have to go much further to get to a 5-star product, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Again, I think folks like Trailborn are trying to come in and disrupt that a bit, which is exciting. But does this development change an investor's appetite to build better product in these regions? Any thoughts here?
I think better product is still going to perform near national parks, right? If you're in the upscale to luxury segment, as we're seeing kind of across hospitality, I think you'll still do well, right? The upscale to luxury traveler isn't not going on their national park trip because of a $100 hike in fees for the national park. So I don't think it's going to impact that segment as much. And as you mentioned, the existing supply is so poor in a lot of these markets. But I do think that mid to lower quality product is going to potentially suffer, but it's all going to come down to like how much this actually impacts international travel demand. And I don't know what that number is. If it really is low single digits, then it's probably a win in terms of raising additional money for some of these infrastructure projects and maintenance and whatnot. But if it really dampens international demand, then you're making more per person, but you're making potentially less on the whole if it has a big impact. So really hard to know there. But no, I don't think the upscale to luxury segment outside national parks is a bad bet, regardless of this. It may even push more luxury travelers and upscale travelers to these destinations. I think one issue the parks have faced more so during COVID is being kind of overrun during high season and super packed, almost like an uncomfortably packed experience. So this may actually help to make them a little more enjoyable when you're there during high season.
Scott, what are your thoughts here, specifically from a traveler's perspective? Do people give us your in hospitality context all over the world all the time? You talk to hotel owners, operators, travelers. U.S. parks in general, growing in interest, growing in popularity, waning in popularity in terms of desirable places to visit when folks think about planning their U.S. trips. Any sort of insight into just how the international traveler, specifically the non-American traveler, thinks about a trip to the U.S. national parks?
I don't think national parks are on the top of mind of most of international travelers. I do think it's on the rise post-COVID because all of nature stuff is on the rise post-COVID. But honestly, I don't think the fee isn't the story. The reaction to the fee is the story. And when you add even a tiny bit of friction, you see which destinations actually built a resilient ecosystem and which destinations were floating on hope. A strong tourism strategy can take a hit and stand still, but a weak one crumbles the moment something changes. So time will tell. Hotels around national parks need to stop pretending demand is automatic. I mean, truth be told, just like you and Ben were talking about, like, most hotels around national parks within a 20-mile radius are garbage. They're very Motel 6-ish. Nothing against those properties, but that's what you get. You get what you pay for. Nothing is automatic anymore. Guests travel with intention today. If your brand isn't memorable, you'll lose travelers before the fee even kicks in. The industry needs to understand that attention has replaced location as the real advantage. If people feel a connection with your property, they'll come anyway. If they don't, you're invisible, period.
Yeah, very well said. And I do think it is interesting, right? As we've talked about over the last couple of weeks, this rise in ecotourism, this rise in wellness travel, right? You've got some of the most beautiful places, arguably, in the world, right? With very, very lackluster accommodations, right? The contrast when you go to Glacier National Park and then you stay at the Motel 6, literally at the gates of the park, right? Literally. Is dramatic, right? Which again, I think underpins sort of this opportunity that does exist for a more luxury experiential product. Now again, there's lots of regulation there that somehow some folks are finding a way to work around. So we'll see how this develops. But I'm sort of with you guys on this story. I think it's something it's kind of interesting to pay attention to. At the end of the day, is a $100 hike going to dramatically shift the behavior of international travelers? I think too soon to tell, but I'm sort of with Ben here. Don't know that this is a major hiccup, but excited to see how this plays out. The next story I want to get your all's thoughts on. I thought this was really interesting. I thought about not including it in today's agenda, but I think there's something bigger happening here, and so I wanted to include it. This is a story that Colin Nagy from Skift broke on Luxury Escapes. Luxury Escapes is an Australian travel company. Luxury Escapes announced this week that they are expanding what they call their physical travel boutiques. So they already have a physical travel boutique as like their flagship location in Melbourne, and it's performing incredibly well. Luxury Escapes is primarily a digital-first, high-end deals and experiences platform. So it's a really stunning, like high-end OTA, if you will. Now, they have one location in Melbourne that is reportedly driving tens of millions in annual revenue and outperforming their own internal projections. In other words, the data says that this is what travelers actually want. Now, to put it simply, what this is it's a place where you come. It's a stunning boutique. It feels like you're in like a luxury boutique retail store, and you sit down with a travel advisor and you plan out your trip, right, with somebody in person. So Luxury Escape's thinking here is pretty simple. Despite all the tech, all the apps, and all the AI travel planning tools that we now have available, there's still a segment of travelers, especially luxury travelers, who want a human curated in-person planning experience. They want to sit down, they want to touch, the fabric sample, so to speak, flip through the itineraries, sip champagne while they talk and dream about the hotels that they're going to stay at. So I thought this was interesting because anytime we see this, rise in, we see the pendulum swing in one direction towards fast, quick, AI generated content, right? You also see this kind of counter shift happening with folks pursuing the opposite, right? I think about this all the time with the rise of Amazon, right? Gave birth to Shopify and Etsy, right? And I think there's something interesting happening here where travelers are saying there's so much content out there. There's so much choice. There are so many tools that I'm paralyzed. Let me go talk to a human, especially when I'm going to make this huge investment. So I wanted to go to Scott. I wanted to go to you here first. What do you think about this development? Is this something that's going to be for the 1% only? Is this an experience that you think could actually trickle down? Is the future us all going to check into a beautiful travel boutique in our local mall and plan our luxury getaways? Talk to us about the story and any thoughts you might have surrounding the broader trend.
So I've been talking about this a lot on LinkedIn lately, that the more tech we get, the more AI we get, the more tools are forced down our throats every single day, the more people are going to crave human connection. This move is a wake-up call for the industry, but the industry is always going to gravitate towards higher end spending first, and then it'll trickle down. So digital convenience has hit its peak or is about to hit its peak. Human connection didn't. Luxury travelers, they want someone who understands them, not a website that processes them. This is why Luxury Escape opening physical boutiques makes complete sense. It's not a step backward. It's a step back into reality. You can't scale true trust with automation alone. Trust still lives in eye contact, in tone, in energy, and real conversations. Luxury is shifting back towards the human touch, and the brands that embrace this will pull ahead fast. You can see the writing on the wall. When people want certainty, they choose people, not platforms.
Ben, what do you think about this move? I'm with you, Scott. I think at the end of the day, most people are not going to walk into a travel boutique to plan a trip. That's just true, right? We're not trending in that direction. But what I think is interesting, right, is will we see folks, especially when they're planning a big trip? Maybe it's a wedding abroad, right? Maybe it's a 50th birthday trip, right? Maybe it's a retirement trip, whatever the impetus might be. Will we see folks want to put this in the hands of? We're seeing a sort of a resurgence in travel agents in general, by the way, right? You see platforms pop up all the time.
Sure.
There's a popular one, begins with an F. I can't remember what it's called. Fee something. Anyways, these platforms pop up. They've been popping up and they've been growing in popularity. Ben, what is your thinking on this move? Is this nice, interesting, not that interesting? Is there no story here? What is your take?
Yeah, I think that this is in line with the trend of experiential retail more broadly. And there's almost this blending of retail and hospitality. So retail experiences, I think, are having to take more cues from hospitality and really create their stores into this amazing experience that people want to be a part of. Less about how much inventory you can show, but more how you can provide a curated experience that, makes somebody feel alive, makes them feel an emotion, gets them high, if you will. And that this is the same type of thing, but for travel planning. And let's be real, I think maybe less so Edwin and Scott, just with how much they travel, but at least for me, the planning of a trip gets me as high sometimes as actually going on the trip. So now I can go to a place, have an amazing experience, a curated experience, an expert right there with me in the flesh, which is a cool experience, really curating the whole thing and helping me get high, thinking about my trip. So, and I'll probably spend more money. So I think it's great for them in that regard. I talk a lot about like, I kind of shit on hotel lobbies and, you know, some people may think of me as like anti in-person experience, but I don't think that's true. I shit on hotel lobbies because they're often so sterile and worthless. If you can make a hotel lobby fun, vibey, make me feel something when I walk in the door and really add to the experience, I'm all in on that. I love that. And I think that's the same thing that they're doing here. So, yeah, I think that it's people want experience. They're providing it, you know, in person, which is sort of a counter, right, to everything being online today. And I think people want differentiated experiences. So I like it.
Edwin, any additional commentary here?
I mean, Scott and I are an age where this is how we used to plan our trips, right? We walked into a travel agency, got the brochure, went home. I'm totally with you, Ben. I mean, planning is half the fun. You looked at pictures, you made a decision, you went to see an agent at a travel agency, and they helped you. And it's exactly what we talked about last week when we talked about Google going into booking, where we said, you know, if a platform or AI takes over, they'll never see that spark in your eye when you talk about, you know, that beach they just recommended or that hotel they just recommended. And if they're really good salespeople, they'll jump on it. You know, and I think the cool thing about this story also was they said on their platform their local online bookings averaged 2,000, I think it was, whatever currency it was, and something else a little bit more. But their in-person transactions were like a tenfold, which means somebody sitting in those offices pouring the champagne, you're having fun, and they're upselling and they're adding, and you know you're walking out perhaps with more than you intended. But that's what sales is all about, and that's what half the fun is about. So maybe this is what we said last week. You know, the trust that we put into platforms, is that really going to get us over the point where we actually start booking and start trusting these platforms to make suggestions for us, or is that really that human connection? And you know, it'd be a crazy world to return to travel agencies, but you know, have them on the high street and on shopping streets. But you know, who knows? But I love this story because it exactly like Scott also said, it's exactly that human connection we're craving. I don't know. I'm lost and between all these platforms when I start to book. And sometimes I look for a human to tell me where to go, right? And that's a friend or somebody that sits at the dinner table or the bartender or, you know, in this case, maybe a travel agency.
It'll be interesting too, right? I think about retail a lot, right? And how they're still opening up incredible stores, even though, you know, 80+% of retailers such as like West Elm and Pottery Barn and Crate and Barrel, which is where my wife shops all the time, like most of their sales are coming online, right? But right, she still and we still love going to the actual store. It's you walk in, you get to touch things, you get to feel things, you get to see how the color looked right in person versus online, and it can be dramatically different. And then we leave. We almost never actually buy something in the store, right? But we leave and then we go buy it online like that night, right? and we're certainly not alone in this behavior. And so I do think it is interesting to see. Hey, will we see more of these boutiques pop up? Will we even see thematic boutiques, right? Like, hey, if you're planning a trip to this location, like maybe it's Italy, like do they lean into an Italian, a boutique where you get to walk in and there's you get to experience different regions of Italy? Like I do think where this has legs is for the big trips, right? And they're smart people here. There are a lot of people that go on 2-3 big trips, in their lifetime that they do spend tens of thousands and in some cases hundreds of thousands of dollars on. So it does make sense, I think, even for the mid-luxury travelers, I like to call them. And so I'm excited to see how this plays out. I hope that there's a model here that we can replicate. I hope they open one in the US so I can go experience it for myself, and maybe we can all report back on what that experience was like. All right, guys, I want to try a new segment here before we hit our last story of the week. This is a segment that we'll come up with a fun, sexier name for it. But for now, it's just the best social media post you saw this week. We spend a lot of time on social. we spend a lot of time consuming content and creating content ourselves on social. I wanted to just do a quick round robin here. What's a post that you saw that was inspiring, that was funny, that made you think maybe a little bit differently this week? Scott, let's start with you.
So I follow this account out of Dubai, and it's the Dubai World Trade Center hospitality account. What they do is it's mice business. They do the conventions and weddings and all that kind of stuff. But they did a post where they actually showed all the prep work. Everything that I talk about, it's just real, it's raw, it's uncut. They showed all the prep work during the sunrise, before the sunrise, during the setup. Like it was, they posted the behind the scenes reel showing the kitchen waking up before the sunrise. And I was just super happy. It wasn't polished. It was the real beginning of the day. Stock checks, prep stations firing up, team members moving with precision. What hit me was the honesty of it. There was no illusions. There was no filters, and it was Dubai. Everybody thinks of Dubai like the Vegas in the Middle East, but there wasn't any flash, Hospitality isn't built on the moment that the dish hits the table. It's built on the grind leading up to it, and I wouldn't care. I would have still brought this up if they had 500 views, but coincidentally, it was done within the past week and they have over 300,000 views. So, it just goes to show you that high polished videos, and Ben for sure can attest to this with me. Some of my best performing videos are the raw, uncut, behind the scenes, what everybody wants to see. Those polished videos have their place, but I post way more raw, undercut. You follow my stories. They're all real time, no editing, no filters, no anything. It's just boom, So
Yeah.
that was mine, and I loved it. I thought it was great.
I love it. You'll have to share that with the group because I'd love to give it a watch. Ben, what about you, man? What's a social post that stood out to you this week?
Yeah, so I don't know if this counts, but I'm going to throw it in anyway. So in terms of my consumption, I'm more of I feel like the YouTube content I watch is stickier for me. Like I'll watch a 45-minute, hour-long video and I remember it. So thinking about what social posts or, content was the most impactful for me, I immediately thought to YouTube. I watched a interview that two buddies of mine, Rich Summers, who has a podcast, and then Briar Cochran, who's a personal brand media strategist, I guess, and he also has a do it for you agency. And I just thought there was just some great nuggets on there for anyone who's trying to build a personal brand. So he had some tactical tips and sort of things that I thought were interesting to try, like turning up the speed of your audio to 1.05x and using pitch up and CapCut, like things that can just add a little more stickiness and hook to your videos. Experimenting with color size, etc., on initial hooks in videos to allow you to try different hooks and not have trials flag them for duplicating the exact same video. So some very tactical stuff like this, and then broader philosophical high level strategy as well. So that was the one that stuck out to me, and I thought had a ton of value.
Awesome, and yeah, I'll have to pass that along as well. The Instagram reel that caught my attention most this week was something that the Waldorf Astoria in New York put out. So for those who might not have followed the story very closely, Waldorf Astoria was going through kind of major renovations in New York. It took way longer than anyone thought it should. It took years, and it's finally reopened, I believe, July or something, like earlier this summer. And since then, it's been a little bit quiet, but whoever's running their social right now is, I think, doing this incredible, they're taking this incredible third way between, Scott, what you were saying about the high polished content and also just very casual talking to the camera sort of content. They put out this reel that I'll share to the group too. It's got 550K views. They've got 68,000 followers, so performed decently well. But the way that it's basically kind of like a quick drone shot and tour of the new hotel, and it was it wasn't gaudy like I was sort of expecting. It felt very fast, Ben. It felt like you were like almost like running through this luxury hotel. A lot of hotel content, especially luxury hotel content, it's it's smooth. It's slow, right? It's emotional, but typically in sort of this like romantic way. This felt like, okay, cool, fast moving business travelers stay at the Waldorf Astoria in New York. Like that was sort of the vibe I got. Like, this is a place where if you like nice things, right? But you're also a motivated, talented individual. This is where you'll be. So again, that was the sentiment that I got from the reel. It was the best content from a hotel that I saw this week. Edwin, let's click with you, man. Before our final story here, what's a post or commentary on social that caught your attention?
Yeah, so I mean, very much in line, and I didn't realize that because obviously it was my post, but very much in line with what some of you have said. So I'm a big fan of Stephen Bartlett, the CEO, Diary of a CEO. I mean, Zach's main competitor, right? On podcasting.
That's the nicest thing anyone has ever said to me, Edward.
Right. Hold your horses, Stephen. But anyway, so he put a post out yesterday, and I just need to use his words because I think it's most fair. But I like his way of thinking. He did an interview in the Evening Standard yesterday, and he explained why in the world of AI, he's betting everything on humans. So he's starting a new company. He says betting everything on humans because social media now feels soulless. Poster AI, commentary AI, and we see this a lot, on our feeds too. Same writing style, same emptiness, etc. So his viewpoint is when AI can generate infinite content at near zero cost, it stops being valuable, and how that's going to change how we should post. And this is exactly what Scott said. It's raw, unfiltered, and he talks about being raw and unfiltered. The journey, the mistakes, the emotions. But posting that's what he's betting on. So he's starting a new company called Steven.com, and he says the question to ask yourself is what part of what you're building is irreplaceably human. Because everything in a world of perfect AI generated everything, the imperfections and things that are not replicable become exponentially more valuable. Anyway, his story, read it. He's better explaining this than I am, but it's worth looking up because it ties back into a lot of what we said. And I think I think it was the first podcast we talked about buzzwords and what 2026 is going to do. I think this human touch, this human element, it's going to explode. And I think it's much faster than I had thought it would be. Everybody is still talking about AI and everybody's on the bandwagon about the same topics. But the amount of people I think I admire who I think understand what the world's going to, that are talking about back, not only human connections, but back to sort of nostalgic feelings are incredible. So I think it's one to watch.
Love it. I want to go to our last story of the week here. This is a story on wellness travel that Condé Nast reported on. They say wellness travel is no longer just a vacation add-on. It's becoming a core part of business and corporate travel, a shift that's already shaping how hotels must think about guest experience. So according to recent reporting, the wellness travel market is set to surge to around $1.4 trillion by 2027, with expectations that it will continue growing significantly past that. What's particularly interesting, I think, about this story is how much wellness travel is being baked into corporate travel and leisure stays. So this isn't just what Ben and his wife did a couple weeks ago and escaping to a wellness hotel as a couple. This is corporate retreats that are including wellness opportunities, whether it be massages, spas, saunas, etc. This rise in popularity that we're seeing among businesses deciding to treat their employees essentially to wellness experiences is growing dramatically. Ben, this is something that you've talked about for a while. I know that you care deeply about. Talk to us a little bit about this story, what you found most interesting about it, and any musings you might have on this broader trend.
Well, I love this story. I love seeing this, that corporate and leisure travel, your offsites, these sorts of things, company planners, leadership is actually prioritizing wellness. I think that it's a reflection of what people want and therefore what their employees want. And I just think it creates such an amazing environment for creativity and productivity. And, one of the main reasons I'm so all in on health and wellness, it's not because I want to live to 110 and have amazing quality of life, later in life. That's one reason, but it's mostly because I want to be as productive, creative, and energetic as I possibly can every day and feel good every day to be able to, produce at my highest level. And so I think that corporate leadership is seeing that more and more and wants to cultivate that in themselves as well as in their entire team. So I think it makes a ton of sense. I'd say some areas that I'm, looking at that are booming that I think, whether it's corporate leisure or leisure, all those segments are looking at from a wellness perspective. One is going to be, agritourism and farm hospitality. I talk about this a lot. So people care about where their food is coming from. They want to know about the story of their food. They want it to be health forward. They want to know where the ingredients come from. They want to know that it's ethically sourced and, sustainably sourced and all the rest. So I think that's a huge trend. Some of the best luxury properties and best performing properties in the world are agritourism stays right now, which is pretty wild, right? Blackberry Farm, Babylonstrom, the New in England. I mean, these places are absolutely killing it. Consumers and maybe corporate travelers as well can't get enough. So that's one. Sleep wellness that I've talked about a lot, which sleep is sort of like the backbone and foundation, I think, of all wellness. And getting a good night's sleep helps you perform at work, be more creative, all these things. So whether that's your smart mattresses, if it's circadian lighting, if it's blue blocker glasses, if it's experiences and programming that you can use during the day that helps you relax better and sleep better later. I mean, I think those are all things that the best wellness hotels out there are going all in on. So those are just a couple of trends that I'm seeing. But I love that corporate is taking this seriously and giving people and their employees, I think, what they want today.
It'll also be interesting to see, again, how this bleeds into the leisure market, right? Will folks go to a work offsite, and then if they're at a wellness retreat, will they extend a day or two, right? Bring their partner for the weekend, et cetera? Like, does this help increase length of stay, given sort of most of these locations, are a little bit more off the grid, right? They're not necessarily in urban hubs. So I'm super excited by this story as well. Edwin, any thoughts on this trend? Are you seeing sort of similar trends in Europe? Are folks in Europe interested in corporate wellness offsites, or is this more of an American phenomenon?
No, I think it's a global phenomenon. No, but I think the world's also getting a bit tired of being told, what is good, what is right, what you can eat. I mean, can I eat meat? Can I eat fish? Is soya good for me? Should I be vegetarian? At some point you just want to go on an ice cube diet because that's probably the safest thing to do. So, there's just so much content out there that we get fed, and you used to get this through reading a book or, listening to your doctor. But, nowadays there's hundreds of touch points throughout the week of where I'm told what's good for me, what's not good for me, and how I should live longer and what I should and shouldn't do. And really by the end of the week, I sort of forgot, what my list should be, and we just continue with our lives. So what I picked up from this story is that, if we're going into this direction, it should still be fun. There still should be some ease out there. I think the pressure of companies telling us what to do and what's good for us, I think we're going to get into a lot more personalized items, treatments, what's good for me instead of what's good for the group. And that would be fun to see on corporate retreats, to see how they can manage to make programs for individuals, right? Not necessarily for the group. And I think at some point, we don't want to be told all these things that will make us perhaps live a little bit longer, and that's the way we should live. I think there should be some fun in it too. So, a dance, I don't think will ever go away. Scott said it earlier. The daytime dances in nightclubs. I think we talk about this pre-recording. But the fun elements of all of this. There was a company I worked with about a decade ago, and they were called Yoga for Bad People, and I'll never forget it. We did a collaboration with them, videos in our guest rooms, but they sort of got it right. I mean, when I go to yoga retreat for 5, 6, 7, 8 days, I don't only want to eat vegetables and be told what to do, what not to do. And they had classes, not at an ungodly hour of the day, They had classes, but they drank champagne at night, and they had, you could eat whatever you want. But then you had a class again, and you did all the other things. And I think that's sort of the direction where we're going to go to. What is good for me, right? What's good for a human being? What's good for the human body? What's good for me? And how do I combine that? And I think those that are going to plan this well are going to come out as as winners.
Scott, any final musings on this story?
I think that wellness has crossed the line a while ago from trend to expectation. It's the new baseline. It's the new reason companies choose certain hotels and ignore others. Travelers aren't looking for a stay anymore. They're looking for a reset. If your property can't make people feel better, both physically and psychologically, then when they arrived, you're already behind the curve. Hotels need to wake up to the reality that wellness is now part of performance culture. Can I get a massage and a keynote? Sure, that's awesome. Sign me up twice. Are companies going to give somebody an extra day off so they can stay an extra day? And hotels are going to feel this as far as number of nights are concerned? Not a shot, especially in the U.S. It's a nice thing to talk about. It's never going to happen, but it's a nice thing to talk about. But mental clarity built into the experience, a hotel that improves the guests overall becomes unforgettable. Period. The end.
Yeah, it's also just, I think, interesting as we see more hybrid teams, more remote first teams, and they are interested in planning offsites. Historically, right, the offsite would probably be in some big city, some urban destination, but you are just seeing more and more folks. I mean, our teams did this, Ben, at Onera Wimberley, you have folks that come to escape the city, right? Like they want to be close. They're 45 minutes an hour outside of the city, so they can go into the city for a night or whatever it is. But but their core programming isn't in a hotel like ballroom, right? It's at a really beautiful landscape hotel. And so it is interesting to kind of see how these worlds continue to merge. And I do think the remote nature of a lot of work, the hybrid nature of work, is very conducive to this kind of experience for leisure travelers. All right, gents, it is time for, I think, what is our listeners' favorite part of This Week in Hospitality, which is Spice of the Week, the segment that we close with each week, where we talk about a trend that we're paying close attention to, an idea that we've had, an insight that we've garnered, really just a quick time to pontificate about what's on our minds. Edwin, I want to start with you this week. What is your Spice of the Week, good sir?
My Spice of the Week is that I was wrong on my Spice of the Week last week. I had just read the story, and it was just put out by the CEO of Citizen M, and I thought they were rebranding all their hotels, but it's a new name for their company. So I apologize for getting that wrong. I read it, and I should have followed up on that story the next day. But it was hot. It was hot off the press, so hence it was my Spice last week. But hands up, I love you, Citizen M. I still love your logo.
Retraction Spice.
Yes, it's a spice that dumbed down the other part of the spice. So.
On that note, did you see that Google had to put out a statement to clarify that they are not becoming an OTA?
Nope.
After all the buzz around
really?
Their new AI travel planning tool? They said, to be explicitly clear, we will not be an online travel agency.
Well, that's how much traction is getting. We'll see. Exactly.
Yeah. Scott, what about you, man? What is your Spice of the Week this week?
So I think that we're entering a new era that hotels aren't prepared for. Content has become the universal language of travel. Now, we've all heard that before, right? But bear with me. People don't search for experiences anymore. They search for proof of experiences. The hotels that figure out how to help guests create content on property will own the future, not influencer programs, infrastructure. Think micro studios, creator rooms, lighting setups, podcast setups, spaces designed specifically for guests to produce content effortlessly. If hotels don't create environments for content, guests will choose the hotels that do. And content is becoming the new competitive advantage. I got news for you. I have lived in hotels full time for the past 12 years. I would happily pay double for a hotel that actually has a podcast room just so I can record. I mean, I'm either a guest or recording with you guys 3 or 4 podcasts a week. I would love to have the consistency.
I'm
Like,
adding
I
this
don't-
to my list right now. Podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
like
travel
it.
with a setup. I don't travel with lighting.
Right.
And like, I'm not Cher with like four semis
Love it.
behind me with
Love
all
it.
my equipment. I would gladly pay for a podcast room if a hotel had one. It's unreal. So I'm at
And this
the
could be the
Aloft.
size of a linen closet, Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be big, and it doesn't require a huge
Correct.
investment. It's like the ROI is
There you go.
insane.
Correct. So
Yeah.
I am at the Aloft in Bangkok, like right in the epicenter of Bangkok. Their Wi-Fi is good. It's above average for a hotel. And I got news for you. I probably wouldn't have a problem. But I also know that having a landline directly hooked up to my laptop is much more consistent, especially when you're recording. So every time I come here, they have to come in, run a wire, and they're great about this. I know the people at the property and this and that. So I actually choose this hotel versus many others here because there it's a coin flip whether I'm going to have it or not. Here, I know it's a guarantee. So it's, little things like that. And also, can I just say, I'm sure you guys have all heard about this because it's like headline news. It's something completely different. Have you guys heard about this social media ban for 16 and under in Australia? You have to Google
They're trying to do
This
the same
is-
thing in Holland.
This is massive,
Yeah.
massive news. It starts, I think, December 1st or January 1st or something like that. I mean, the kids are like up in arms. There's
Yep.
like a group of kids that are like trying to sue the Australian government. It's like crazy. And like Snapchat's like behind them and Instagram's behind. It's like a whole thing. It's so big. But
They're going to need rehab.
yeah. If this
They're
this
going
goes
to need
through-
like a detox facility.
yeah, if this goes through, I want to see what else happens in different countries. Listen, the all the protests in Hong Kong were literally orchestrated because of social media, and you can say that with 100 different countries out there. So
Interesting.
Those are my rants.
Your rants, I love them. A lot of spice there, man. Lots of different flavors. I love it. I'll go quickly, and then we'll close out with Ben here. So my spice of the week. I don't know if you guys saw Ryanair canceled their membership program. They had a Prime-like program. You paid a flat fee, similar to things that Frontier has done and other
Garbage.
U.S. airlines have tried.
Garbage.
With you pay an annual fee and then you get like unlimited flights, right?
Yeah.
These programs just have consistently underperformed and or not performed. Anyways, 8 months after Ryanair launches this program, they cancel it, and they announced this week that they're sunsetting the program. And I was thinking about why don't Prime-like membership programs work in contexts like airlines or hotels? Or you've seen hotels tried this a little bit here and there, specifically with members clubs, but it's never really taken off. And I was thinking, and this is a fresh insight, so I reserve the right to change my mind and opinion later. But I think I think about the subscriptions that I have, right, and why I love Prime so much, and it's because with Amazon Prime I have access to incredible inventory across incredible brands, across zillions of product types and SKUs, whereas I'm not convinced that paid membership programs really work with one consistent brand or product.
Never.
Right? I don't think loyalty, if you will, can kind of be bought that way. I think where it works is when, okay, as a consumer, I'm getting deeper access into a breadth and depth of inventory across brands, across product types, etc. And I think that the idea of paid memberships for unlimited hotel stays, if it's all within one brand, I just don't think that is attractive or interesting enough to the consumer, because even though I might have deep loyalty to a specific brand in a hotel group, the idea of me paying on top of that well, what happens when I go to, Bangkok and I want a different experience. I want to experiment with it with a different hotel brand, right? And I think that conversation that you have mentally as a consumer with your in your head is enough to just like, as much as I love the brand, to not want to buy into it. Yeah. So Scott, you've got thoughts here.
I have two thoughts. Number one, Ryanair is garbage. So they should have never done it from the beginning. And if anybody here works for Ryanair, I'm not lying, so don't leave a comment. Number two, Amazon Prime does not feel like a loyalty program. It is so cheap, and you have access. They over deliver like a ridiculous amount. I mean, like you just get so much programming, and I mean, it's worth it alone if you're a sports fan and you're watching football on Thursday night. Like it's just they over deliver like a ridiculous amount, and it's super cheap. Like
well, and it's across every segment.
Correct.
It's content, right?
Correct.
It's free shipping. It's free grocery delivery. Like, I mean, it's Whole Food discounts at Whole Foods, right? Like, I mean, it's insane. And I think that's my point is it's very hard to have, I think, a paid membership community of any kind when it's a singular product and a singular brand. Anyhow,
but
let's go to
also,
you, man.
Zach, just to follow up on that one. I mean, why would you want to be saving for a free $17.99 flight?
Oh,
There's no aspiration.
That's never on time. That's never on time and always loses your luggage.
They should be given free tickets to national parks in the U.S. as benefit.
They should.
That's
Dude,
the
I was
saving.
thinking, so Frontier's program is still up and running. And so if anyone listening to this has, I was doing a little digging to try to figure out if I could see how it was performing. And, I spent 30 minutes on this late last night and I couldn't find anything meaningful. But if anyone listening has context, I'd love to know, like, hey, how's this program actually working for Frontier? Because hey, maybe we're wrong.
So
I don't know a single person has their Go Wild pass.
I would like to know if anybody has spent 30 minutes looking at a Frontier website in the past year, because like
it's horrible.
Like, why would you?
It honestly, the whole like landing page for Go Wild, which is the name of the program, looks like it was like. It looks like they use like Microsoft Paint to design it. I mean, it's awful. The text is all different sizes on the font. It's terrible. Anyways, I know we're close to time here. Ben, I want to hear your spice of the week, man. What's keeping you up at night? What are you excited about? What's your latest musing?
Well, first I want to say I don't fly Ryanair. I don't know if I ever have. I do like their social, so I think I got to give them some props. Like they know they're bad and they just lean into it. So I dig it. I dig the whole face on the plane and just self-deprecating to the nth degree on social. I do dig that. So my spice of the week. This isn't news, okay? The algorithms changed well over a year ago. TikTok, from inception, where follower counts don't matter anymore. Right? What matters is your actual engagement on recent videos. So when you're evaluating influencers, when you're evaluating your own hotel's social media or your own restaurants, the follower count doesn't matter anymore. You have to look at your recent videos. How many views am I getting? How many shares? What's my watch time? Do I have any viral videos in the last, year? Those are the things that we need to be looking at. A lot of these followers, like, you can have 1 million followers and be invisible to 90% of them, because Instagram and TikTok always are not sharing all of your reels to all your followers, right? So typically, maybe 10% of your followers will see each reel, unless it does really well, and then it'll show it to all your followers, and then a ton of people beyond your followers as well. But if your content's not good, it's not even going to show up to 90% of your followers. So I think it's something that hotels need to realize. It was top of mind for me because of Azulik and the fact that be like Azulik. They have 2.4 million followers and they're still trying to up their content game. Don't rest on your laurels, or you're going to get passed by super quickly.
Very well said, gentlemen. This has been another fantastic episode of This Week in Hospitality. For our listeners, thanks for tuning in. Subscribe, comment, like, share, all the fun social signals that you can send to the algorithms to let them know that you like this content, so that we can continue to grow the reach of this show. If you got ideas for stories that you want us to talk about or cover, if you've got any ideas for new segments you might want to hear or watch on the show, feel free to email us directly. I'll have, again, our contact info in the show notes below. You can also just give us a follow on our respective social channels. All that will always be linked in the show notes below. Scott, Edwin, Ben, thank you, gentlemen, for spending time this week, as you do every week, sharing your insights on the industry's biggest stories and developments. I will let you all go now. Have a wonderful week, and we will see you next
Thanks,
time.
Zach. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Good to see everybody.
Thanks for joining us this week. If any part of today's conversation sparked an idea or helped you think differently about the industry, we'd love to continue the conversation. You can find each of us on LinkedIn, on X, on Instagram, or whatever your preferred social platform of choice is. Links to all of our profiles are in the show notes below. This Week in Hospitality is presented by Journey. Journey is a loyalty platform built specifically for independent boutique hotels and high-touch hospitality brands. Our mission is to give operators the same powerful rewards engine, data intelligence, and guest insights that major chains rely on, without asking them to give up the individuality, the soul, and the story that makes their property so exceptional. At a moment when travelers are craving unique, meaningful experiences, and operators are navigating rising OTA costs, fragmented data, and shifting expectations, Journey provides a unified ecosystem that strengthens guest relationships, increases direct bookings, and helps independent properties thrive on their own terms. We're building a global, curated alliance of exceptional hotels, villas, and residences, a network that rewards exploration, empowers individuality, and gives independents the scale that they deserve. If you're an owner or operator of an extraordinary independently owned and operated hotel or residence, and if you want to see whether your property is a fit for the Journey Alliance, you can learn more and apply at alliance.journey.com. All right, friends, we'll see you next Friday. Until then, keep building experiences that are worth remembering.